I would go and busk outside Universal Records. I would do it here in London because I'm not going to fork out to fly to the USA because it'd take up my budget. I'd go and buy 500 quid's worth of fireworks, bangers and shit like that. And then what I'd do is I'd play these killer tracks outside to the staff as they walk in, all right? So that would be the boss, the cleaners, whatever. And I'd just keep repeating these 8 tracks over and over again. And then as it gets a bit darker, and people say, what's going on here? I'd light these fucking fireworks, the whole lot, right, in one go. Also, what I do is I'd go on Twitter, because am I allowed to go on Twitter?
You're allowed to do whatever you want.
Well, I go on Twitter and Facebook and just say, man, there's some serious shit happening outside Universal Records right now. Also tweeting some bigwig names, perhaps. I know what I said earlier, but I would just put the bigwigs in and just say, marketing director of Universal. Some serious shit about to hit the fan outside if you're not careful. Police might turn up. Great, no problem. Very Apple rooftop. Yeah. Set these bastards off. The whole lot at one go. Enemy and all that will suddenly go nut job outside Universal Records as set off all these fireworks.
This podcast is sponsored by EVS Entertainment Insurance. EVS specialise in providing musicians with affordable insurance for all their gear, performances and tours. You've all heard the horror stories of bands having their vans cleared out or drinks spilt all over their pedal boards. Well, if you're serious about what you do, you should definitely be insured. People think they're covered by the venues or covered under their own household insurance, but unfortunately, that isn't the case. I know no one wants to spend their hard-earned cash on something they can't see, but no one expects these things to happen. So for a few quid a month, it's better that these guys, EVS, have your back. So, Jon, we hear your name pop up in showcases and events all around London and all over the music industry. Can you give us a brief history about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
I'll try and make it brief, yeah, okay. I suppose I'm most well known for my Rage Against the Machine campaign, 2009, which I sort of used social media and hook or crook and a bit of duping of the media to get a nice shouty, sweary rock rap anthem. It's the Christmas number one instead of the X Factor. That's probably the bit that's going to go on the gravestone, as it were.
That is it. An absolute amazing thing.
Yeah, I've done other bits and bobs as well, I've had 2 Christmas number ones, actually.
Is that a fact?
That's an absolute fact.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to dig into that in a lot more detail throughout this interview, I think.
Of course.
So your specialism then in the industry is PR? This is what you're renowned for, PR and social expert. Would you say you're a social expert or a PR expert or both?
Being a pedant, I'd say I'm not an expert in either, actually. I don't think that exists, especially social media. I tell everyone this, but if you find anybody that tells you that they're a social media expert, they're lying, because they don't exist. You cannot be an expert. You can be a practitioner, which is what I am, but you can't be an expert in it because it just moves so quickly. And I think they go hand in hand and upside down, this left and right. In a way, I don't really think they're 2 separate things, if I'm honest, anymore.
Very interesting. Just going back slightly, what was your biggest dream when you were growing up? Did you always want to be involved in the music industry?
Good question. Biggest dream when growing up? I suppose, I kind of had musical ambitions, but in a way I didn't. Now, what I mean by that is that I worked out quite quickly that I couldn't sing, I couldn't play a guitar, couldn't drum, couldn't play. I was not musically talented in any way, but I love the idea of being in a band and, being touring and, getting some chart hits and what have you, going on top of the pops.
Yeah. Loved
all that idea. But I suppose I realistically knew it would never happen. So it was kind of a dream, but one of those silly dreams that you even as a kid, you knew would never happen. Yeah. And I don't think I had any other dreams, really. I didn't have any sort of main goals in life as a youngster going through school going, right, when I grow up, I'm going to be this. No, I never really had that. I kind of changed probably every couple of years. Very Bowie-esque, I think, really. I wanted it to be was going to change.
God rest his soul. So how did you actually end up being involved in social media, in PR, in the music industry? What was your story to date?
Okay, well, with social media, I kind of ended up in that by accident. I kind of discovered social media with, I suppose, MySpace and Friends Reunited, if you remember that, and just experimenting with it, really. I love the idea of just making groups of people and working out that I could bring lots of people together in groups and same tastes, etc. And when Facebook arrived on the scene and Twitter, I kind of just played around with it till it broke. I really just tried to break the thing. And by doing that, I learned a lot of methods, and I learned a lot of ways of marketing, of PR that you mentioned earlier. And also a few little things that I just thought, wow, that could be useful one day. It isn't now. I've got no use for it now, but that could be useful. And so that's kind of where I started.
I like that idea of spotting something that you think might not be useful at the time, but knowing you can back pocket it for later. I think that's something that we can all learn a little something from. Can you think of any examples of when you've done that and when it has actually come to fruition?
Yeah. Well, I suppose the best example I can give is the Rage Against the Machine campaign, because the reason why I managed to get a lot of people in that campaign pretty quickly. And once a lot of people joined, I've always had the theory that crowds will follow other crowds.
Yep.
When I was at university, we did experiments where we'd all gather around one particular shop window, all sort of doing this one, what's going on here? We're all students. But we noticed that when you do that, loads of other people that are walking past will also stop. And they'll also, because they're wondering, well, what the hell are they looking at? It must be something good. And so taking that theory, I kind of did the same thing with Facebook groups. And what I did is I discovered something quite naughty, I suppose, where I worked out that Facebook groups that didn't have any admins, which was quite common in about 2007, 2008, because Facebook would ban you for a few days if you were naughty. If you spammed, they banned you. You didn't get warnings, that was it, you were out. If you owned a group, you kind of lost it for a couple of days. And I worked out a Google prompt that found me all of these Facebook groups with no admin. And the joy of that is when you joined it, it gave you the option to be the new admin. And you became the new boss. And in those days, you could message all members. You could literally, rather than go into the Facebook newsfeed, which is what happens now. Oh no, in those days, if you hit message all members, if you had 5,000 members in your group, you got to message all of them in their inbox straight away. And that's an example where I thought, cool, that's going to be useful. That's going to be a marketing goldmine.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how at the moment, but I know it will be. So I spent a good week or two basically just snaffling Facebook groups, and I must have got about 400 or 500 of these.
Love
things.
it.
And just sat on them. And, that was one example. And then when Rage Against the Machine started getting a little bit bigger, I revisited all these groups. I didn't care if they had anything to do with music. Didn't care. And I messaged all members, every single one. And I made it out to be a us lot versus the bad guy.
Yep.
Are you with us? Are you with me or not? We're all going to join together. And that was a real trigger in getting a lot of people very, very quickly. And because it was a big group and it was growing, it naturally was gaining more and more people because, again, crowds follow crowds. And so I sort of created one which naturally just became its own, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's a lot of marketing tactics and a lot of people use paid ads and big agencies to try and get a message across. But someone that I'm a big fan of, Gary Vaynerchuk, he often talks about the power in the hustle and starting small and building those one-on-one connections with people. So actually just being prepared to spend the time, often huge amounts of time, just messaging people individually. And there's actually a lot to be said for that. Yes, we want to be working smart and hard, but actually just getting out there and making a connection can have a profound effect. Do you think that's still really relevant for people trying to push themselves out today?
Yeah, I do. I think that's one method of many, I think. But yeah, I think to have that personal connection, people remember that, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm in a situation where I get a lot of bands and artists will get in touch with me, sending me their stuff. And it's very flattering. I love it. And the ones that do send it to me personally, I will listen to it. Whereas, I don't know, if you hear of a band on the grapevine and you think, oh, they're meant to be quite good. They might be brilliant, but the one that will actually email me or actually sort of get in touch on Facebook to say, look, here's a track, what do you reckon? Be honest.
Yeah.
I will listen to that one first. And if I like it, it goes from there. So yeah, to get that sort of personal one-to-one thing, I think it is really important. And yeah, it takes time. And it's also, the trick is to do it efficiently so that you don't spend hours or days on one solitary connection.
How would you recommend to do that?
How long's a bit of string? Yeah, well, I don't think there's any one particular method. I think that...
3 top tips, maybe.
3 top tips. Okay, well, I think it's an old classic, but know your audience and know who to go to in the first place is a key thing. You know, it's what they call throwing spaghetti at the wall. Some of it will stick, some won't. I don't think that is the way forward anymore. Give it 5-10 years ago, a lot of people did that. I don't think you need to do that anymore. I got a lot of great response from when I found someone quite influential or someone that I wanted to get in with, if you like. I might go on Twitter and follow their followers. Not their followers, sorry, the people that they are following.
Right.
So I also did something similar where, so one tip, I always do that, because if you can sort of speak and talk to the people that they're following, sometimes you will crop up on their news feeds. It happens on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
As well, you know, with bands, sometimes what I suggest with bands is, you know, always a big thing. Yeah, we want to be signed. We want to be this, we want to be that. Well, find the people that holds the purse strings, find the organ grinder, not the monkey.
Yeah.
Don't go to the organ grinder. Go to the person that does the typing. Don't go to the person that does the office cleaning where the organ grinder works. Follow them. Talk to them, and I'd say you'd be surprised how effective that can be. But I do that. I got to speak to Seymour Stein, Sire Records. He's the guy that signed the Ramones. He signed Madonna.
Wow.
This guy, you know, he was, in my book, he's a bit of a god in the industry. And I actually managed to get to talk to him literally because I found the people on Twitter and in Facebook, mainly Twitter, of the people that sort of worked for him or came into contact with him occasionally. But because of that, I got to I tweeted my way in onto a conversation that he was involved with, and to cut the long story short, I ended up actually meeting him in person at a festival in Liverpool, and I actually ended up going in for a Chinese with him and a few other industry people.
Wow.
And had him to myself, you know, and I got to hear loads of awesome stories, and he's still a contact of mine. So persistence, it pays off, definitely.
No, okay, so let's talk about X Factor and Rage Against the Machine for a while. I mean, it's a massive headline, and it's something that has just been renowned all across this country, if not the world. So it's an incredible thing to have under your belt. So it was 2009, and in fact, I'm not going to tell the story. I would like you to tell the story if you're prepared to.
Okay, I'll try and do just the basic nuts and bolts version, if you like, because it could go on for a while now. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I was playing around with social media for, I think, since 2007. I had a lot of these methods in my head that I was sort of really keen to use somewhere, and it just combined nicely with my passion for music and also my disdain for the X Factor, really. And look, it's a talent show. There's been talent shows since forever, on TV. I've got nothing against those whatsoever. My beef with the X Factor was that they were sort of crossing over into what I call the real world, where they were releasing their single, the winner's single, every single Christmas week.
Yeah.
And every single year we were getting some nobody being the Christmas number one. Now, I got a bit pissed off with that because I thought this can't go on. This just can't go on forever. And all right, the Christmas number one used to fire up some interesting ones. You'd get Queen there one year, you get Mr. Blobby there another year, So, but it was fun. It was just a fun little betting thing that I used to sort of get involved with every year. And it died. And I thought, I can't be doing it. It's just, this is ridiculous. This cannot go on. And I suppose tying in my social media sort of knowledge that I'd self-gained, if you like,
yeah,
I thought, hang on a minute. The chart rules have changed where downloads count now as a sale. So taking my knowledge of getting people together online, if I can get enough people together to all pledge to spend £1 on a download, that's all it needs. If enough people can do it and I can get enough together, then we can create our own hit single and we'll have our own hit. And it was just as simple as that. It was just, well, why don't we do that? And why is no one else doing it? I think was the other question that I had. Why has no one else done this? So that's kind of the basic reason why I did that.
And you got it. So you got it to number one. You managed to knock off Joe McElderry that year.
Joe McElderry, that's
Joe
right.
McElderry.
Yeah.
And you got over 500,000 downloads of this one song.
502,672 actually.
Wow.
I've actually someone's designed me a tattoo. I've still got to have it put on.
That's
it's
a great
the red
idea.
Rage Star with 502,672 underneath.
Yes. Yeah. So why, out of all the bands and songs out there, did you choose Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name of?
One, it's an awesome song by an awesome band I've been a fan of. Since they started, really. So that was one thing. But also, I think just being very British for a moment, to have a rap metal band at number one would never happen in a million years anyway. Two, to have Fuck You, I Won't Do What You Tell Me 14 times in a Christmas number one, I just thought was wicked. I thought that would be awesome. And I just thought also, so not only would it catch music fans, but it would also catch... the ones that are feeling a bit naughty and a bit of their punk moment, and because it just wouldn't normally happen. It would never happen.
No.
So it tied up perfectly. And I just thought it'd be funny. Just be a bit of a laugh at the end of the day. Just seeing that, to have that as a number one single at Christmas, that would be just the most amazing thing.
And it must have just been amazing to have selected that song, a band that you love, showing a serious rebellious side, and actually getting them to number one. Did you actually have any contact with the band themselves?
Yes, not straight away. At first, I honestly thought they wouldn't care and they wouldn't give a toss. And actually, I wouldn't have minded. It would have kept the old myth going a little bit and the old sort of like punk thing, like, we don't give a monkey. Fine. But no, the first contact I had was, that's a good question. When was it? It was a guy, it was a very nice chap called Matt Reynolds, who was kind of their UK-based PR stroke, almost management guy. And I got a message from him, I think it's on Facebook or email, I can't remember now. And it basically just said, hi, I'm so-and-so on behalf of Rage Against the Machine. What do you want us to do? It's like, what?
Nice.
Okay.
If you could fly me over to America, let me meet the band, help record and produce their latest single, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would have been very good. Yeah, but I was just taken back by how that they were interested in getting involved. They weren't together, don't forget. So they actually reformed because of it.
So you can actually say that you got Rage Against the Machine to reform.
Yeah, and they told me that as well. Yeah, when I actually met up with them. Yeah, Timmy C, the bass player, basically said you kind of became our manager for a short while.
I say,
Jon
Jon
Morter. Why we did a tour. They did a tour in 2010. They headlined Download because of what I did, kind of really. So we gave them the impetus to do it.
Serious kudos, my friend. I am actually wearing a hat, so I'm going to take it off to you right now.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
So talk us through the actual strategy then. So you had this idea, you had this brilliant little light bulb moment, and you thought, I'm going to try and make this happen. So this would have not only taken some serious persistence, a relentless pursuit of this goal, but also some shrewd tactics, I don't doubt. So perhaps you can share them with us.
I'm more than happy to, yeah. And persistence is, first of all, you nailed something there. Persistence is something I tell everybody. So many people that think there's some sort of magic button that you can press where people will suddenly go, oh, what a great idea. I'm going to like that Facebook page and I'm going to engage with all their bollocks. It don't happen. Yeah. You've got to be persistent and keep banging on at things. And I did that. I did lots of other little things. I mean, I might as well admit it now. Earlier, I was talking about Facebook groups. Now, the original Rage Against the Machine for Christmas number one Facebook group. Now, this was in the days when groups were brilliant. They were so much better than they are now on Facebook. Anyway, the original group had about me and 20 other people and a dog. There was no one in it at all. But I was convinced this would work. And so I emailed a load of journalists from an Excel file of journalist contacts that I stole off Google. Someone had uploaded it to some server and I found it. It was gold. It was a gold mine. And I emailed loads, Sky, ITV, all that. I said, this is going to be big. This is going to be huge.
What sort of time was this pre-Christmas number one? So Christmas number one comes out roughly December
that year it was the 20th of December that it hit number one.
Okay.
But the campaign started, I started the group about November 14th, I think. But to be honest, it didn't really get any sort of traction until I think about the 1st December, I seem to recall. One thing I do remember, the 1st of December, it hadn't quite reached 5,000 members. I think that was about the sort of a rough yardstick.
Okay, and that first little part of getting roughly 5,000, 500,000, sorry?
Yeah.
5,000.
About 5,000. Well, right, I'll explain. Basically, so we did, so I had this group, not many in it. And if you remember, I talked about other Facebook groups. Well, one of these other Facebook groups was a Rage Against the Machine fan group from the States.
Yeah.
Which I happened to become the new admin of. Now, that had 4,100, I think, members.
So still piddly, really.
Yeah, kind of. But this is what happened. I had the original group, sent it. Obviously, they all ignored me. I think one or two got back down with thanks, good luck, and we hope it goes well. You know, in other words, go away. And then I think it was later on in the afternoon, I sent it again. But this time, this one of these other groups that I'd found, the Rage group, I'd changed it to look like the previous one. Every bit of content was the same. Any old content I deleted. But suddenly it had 4,000 odd members in it in a space of hours. I then sent this off again going, well, you snooze, you lose. You know, all these members have joined in a few hours or so. And I wasn't sure that was going to work, but you got, you know, in this business, you got to chance your arm a little bit here and there, you know, you have a risk.
Absolutely.
I thought it only takes one of them to come back to me. And luckily they did. It's Sky. Someone from Sky got back to me. And I think was it Ruth Barnett? I can't remember who it was now. It might be Ruth Barnett. Got back to me and said, oh, wow. I ended up getting, managed to sort of like snaffle an interview on Sky News. I said, can you get into central London, Westminster, for an interview this evening? I worked in, at the time I worked in near London Bridge, in this very office that we're actually doing this in, bizarrely.
This very office,
this
back. It's like a pilgrimage.
You couldn't
back
script
to the original
that
place.
Was just like,
Pure chance.
That was
just
like to say,
to all listeners
guys.
And viewers, this
couldn't script this. This is literally where I was working when Rage hit number one. I was here in this office. Well, not this actual room, but anyway. So, So Sky said, can you get into Westminster and we'll patch you into the news? And I was like, yes, I can. So I went straight in.
So just to ask, I'm really sorry. So this was on the basis of you had this Facebook group with about 5,000 members. Mm-hmm. You'd acquired this list of contacts off Google that you just essentially hacked Google to find out. We don't mean hack in the terms of technical terms. You just searched around for it,
everything I did was all above board. It's just, it was all there for the taking.
It was there. So you just had the tenacity to look for it. You get this list, you approach however many journalists, one comes back to you on the strength of having a Facebook group of 5,000, and this eventually leads to what you're telling us about now, this interview.
It led to this interview. I did the interview. As soon as we'd done it, I got home, stuck it on YouTube, took the link, and then I sent it out to, you know, BBC and ITV and going, well, you know, Sky are clearly the ones on the ball here. You know, what are you up to? And I did all these emails sort of on the train in the morning on my very, very old sort of iPhone, the old silver ones, you know,
curvy ones.
Wait for 3G and getting in the signal. But so I was sort of doing this, and then literally BBC got back to me. BBC London said, "Would you do an interview today? This is on my way into work here." Yeah, okay. Can we do it lunchtime? Yeah, no problem. So at lunchtime the following morning, I did an interview. Ironic, I mean, you could not script this, guys. You could probably see it out the window here. There's a little park out the back with a bench and a little bit. And so I literally sort of arranged to meet the BBC in this park at the back. And it's on YouTube. You can go and find it.
We'll put a link up in the show notes.
And again, on all these bits of material, and I say this to any bands that get any local press or anything like that, is just make sure you screenshot it, you cut it together, use it.
Good advice.
And again, you know, I took the BBC link and I put it out to the group, which by this time was growing a bit bigger. Mm-hmm. Any material like that, and it's just sort of creating a snowball. You know, all right, I'd faked the snow at the beginning a little bit, but it don't matter, you know, as long as it starts rolling.
Absolutely,
right.
Yeah, you've got to fake it a little bit till you make it, haven't you?
To make it and
you
get away
to.
with it.
Yeah,
you know, there's loads of things that I've managed to do that, you know, some of it is part fakery. I always say, if no one's hyping you up, make it up.
Absolutely right.
Just don't get caught.
You need to make it. Yeah.
That's the rule.
Okay, so you've got this interview now then. So you've spoken to Sky, you've spoken to BBC. I assume by this point then the ball is well and truly rolling. What was then the next few weeks like for you, and what else happened with the campaign?
It was pretty chaotic. While this is all going on, I've got a 9-to-5 job here. So whilst I'm doing that, and obviously got the 3 kids at home and all the usual jabber. Yeah, I'm getting sort of invites to do interviews pretty much left, right and centre. And these are including from Germany, German TV, Australian radio, bonkers, absolute madness. BBC were really enjoying it. I think because X Factor is ITV and
yeah.
I'm sure the BBC have passes out, of course, but I get the feeling they really enjoyed it. So a lot of that, and it really just was a lot of media. And what I made sure to do, and again, this is advice I give to everybody, is regardless of whether it was Radio 5 Live, which has a massive listenership, ITV News, or whether it was just a local newspaper or just a small little local news radio station, if I had the time to do it, I would do it, because I think it's really important to sort of don't just think, I only go to the big, all the big news things. No, don't do that at all. So I made sure that I made myself as available as I could to anyone that wanted to talk.
Oh, did you use those dozens of interviews that you did, however many it was, on Radio 5 to local stations?
Yeah.
Did you also use the same tactic you used with the Sky interview and screenshot them, copy them, put links out to just help create that buzz? Did you manufacture a bit of that yourself?
I still do it to this day. Anything that I get involved with, I will keep a copy of it. I will, if they put it up on, for example, if it's a news interview, for example, I'll make sure I record it and I'll have my own copy. Even if they put it on YouTube, I don't care. I'll rip it and I'll have a copy of that file. Yeah. It's really useful stuff. Just to sort of show, if anything, and to prove, look how big this is going, guys. So I do that, and also how I conducted the interviews as well, where I would purposely wear certain T-shirts. I had a T-shirt with bollocks written on it on one that...
Was this actually a TV interview?
Yeah.
Did they not pick up on it?
But again, that's something that can create a bit of hype. So if no one complains about it, don't worry about it. Go onto Twitter, go onto Facebook, go to all your mates on there and say, right, can you do us a favour? Can you all get onto ITV News or whoever, and can you complain about that offensive idiot wearing that T-shirt? Because I've done that about 3 times now. And about sort of where you ask people to complain. And when you get lots of complaints, it makes usually it will make a column in The Guardian or somewhere like that, offensively, rebellious campaigner gets X hundred complaints, They love that sort of thing. So
you encouraged your friends, anyone you could, to actually complain about it.
Yeah, just slate me. Absolutely.
Bad news travels faster than good news, right? Yeah. So you're using that mentality.
There you go.
Across PR, social,
Yeah, you know where I'm going with that. And just to sort of make it a bit different, because you can either look like I'm some geek with a Facebook page and I think it's going to go really big and social media, blah, blah, blah. Or you can just do something which is slightly memorable. I also had an interview with Nicky Campbell. I had 2 with Nicky Campbell on Radio 5. And the first one, I kind of knew would be really quick. And what I tried to do was, knowing that he was trying to wrap up the conversation, I think one of the last questions was, so, what's wrong with the X Factor? Why are you so anti-X Factor? Or something like that. And I sort of said, well, do you know what? Do you know what I really think of the X Factor? Let me tell you what I think of the X Factor. I think it's a load of... And I cut myself off. I pressed the thing on the phone, cut myself off, right? So I knew it was going to be end anyway. And then what I did is
so this was a telephone interview, so you weren't in the studio?
Yeah, I was at home, yeah.
Yeah, right,
okay. And then what I did is I went on to Twitter or something, and I apologised. And I went on and I said, oh, real sorry about the outburst. I lost it a little bit.
That's a genius idea.
And I, I'm not normally that offensive, so I'm really sorry.
So you made out that you'd gone on that X Factor was a load of fucking old bollocks. Here we go. You've done this on big national radio. Yeah. But you'd actually hung up, so it sounded like it.
Yeah. Again, it's creating that hype. So a lot of people thought, oh wow, what happened there? Whoa,
clever.
Yeah, whoa, And that was just made up.
Brilliant.
But again, people remember that.
Yeah.
People remember that. And obviously there was the big, the one that everyone kind of remembers, which was when Rage reformed and played live.
Hyde Park? That was a bit later, wasn't
Finsbury
it?
Park.
Finsbury Park, that's right.
But no, they played live on the radio, on Radio 5 Live, early morning.
Was this as a result of your campaign? Are we talking before this?
Yeah, this was during the campaign.
They
decided to, I don't know how it happened, but Radio 5 Live said, "Do you want to, are you in London? Because we've managed to get Rage Against the Machine to patch into us from LA."
Yes. Yes.
Yes. When do you want me?
Yeah.
And Rage played the song. They didn't censor themselves, and "Fuck You" went out 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
Panic in the studio. Get rid of it. What's going on?
Was this actually live?
Yeah. And so, but again, I assumed they had a 4 or 5 second delay. Oh no, it all went out.
More for them for that.
Oh, it was amazing.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible.
It was just one of the most amazing moments when that happens as well. And I was just thinking, holy crap, what the hell happened there?
And so did you then use that again? Did you take that as hype and just add it to fuel for your campaign?
I kind of didn't need to, because the Daily Mirror put it on their front, I think it was either front page or really one of their early pages, and it said X Factor. And that's when Simon Cowell found out about it, and that's when it really just went to a whole nother level.
And did you leverage Simon Cowell's disquiet to the situation?
Damn right.
Yeah.
I mean, he scored a right own goal with that, because they had their X Factor press conference, and it's where all the 3 finalists, kind of all sit on a big table and they get fired at questions by the press. And one of the press sort of said, "What do you think about that campaign to stop you being number one?" And Simon, what he probably should have done was just say, "Oh yeah, well, good luck with it, whatever." But no, he went to town on it, and he had a go, and he called us all cynical and stupid. Yeah, Simon Cowell called us all cynical and stupid, which was brilliant, and that wasn't fueled. I don't know what is really. But what happened after that? The numbers were going up big anyway, but once he had come out and had a real go at us, the numbers went wallop. I mean, they just were. It was an own goal from them, because.
So was that the catalyst then? Simon Cowell actually made a rod for his own back by complaining about you guys.
Pretty much, he stuck it in his own net, because what
and he got a bit
there,
personal as well, which was a very silly move of him.
A little bit, yeah. But what really occurred was that anyone that didn't know what was going on suddenly did. Because they're like, well, who's this guy that's rattled Simon Cowell?
Prime time TV, and you've managed to rattle him. You did that. Congratulations. A lot of many people that would want to shake your hand for that.
It was good fun. It was good fun. And that's the thing. And so because he publicly lambasted it, that was one of the greatest bits of PR I've ever had in my life. I mean, it was just like, oh, that's a gift. That is a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now we proper got a good fight on. It's definitely us versus them now.
Yeah. And you'd done everything you could, though, to get that bit of luck that you said. Sure, it was luck, but you really had made your own luck then. And some of the big takeout points that I get for this campaign would be A, being prepared to chance your arm at something, taking a risk, being bold enough to follow it and just get on with it. Being relentless to your pursuit, not giving up just because you're not getting the traction you want.
Yeah.
Focusing on one-to-one. So you really try and build those individual relationships, be it on social with people that might be interested or with journalists. Utilizing your PR, even though it's very small at the beginning, to your advantage to help things grow exponentially and really get that interest. Was there any one moment that made you step back and go, what the hell have I done here? One phone call, one interview, one moment that you just look back and gone, I've created this from nothing over the last 4 weeks.
There's a couple of, I think, key moments. I mean, the Johnny Rotten from the Pistols, still John Lydon, actually joined the group and posted his support.
No way.
Wow. And that was a point when I just thought, bollocks, if this don't work anymore, I don't care. I've had Johnny Lydon. Dave Grohl was touring over here at the time with them Crooked Vultures.
Yep.
And
great band.
This is a crazy story. They were touring and they stopped at some petrol station somewhere. And them Crooked Vultures, you've got Dave Grohl, Josh Homme, and John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. 3 icons.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't need to get out at a petrol station and go and buy a Ginster's pie or anything like that. But they did. They stopped and got out somehow.
Everyone needs to lose.
Or Dave Grohl definitely did. And he went in, and apparently the guy who was working at the service station, just in a conversation, obviously thinking, Christ, that's Dave Grohl, They got talking about the campaign. And he actually said, have you downloaded Rage Against the Machine yet? And Dave Grohl was like, what's this all about? And apparently once they'd done the conversation, he insisted that his old tour bus went and downloaded it because it was during the week.
There you go.
The chart week. I mean,
Wow.
So that was a moment I heard of, and I was like, wow. And Paul McCartney getting in touch, being supportive, The Prodigy, you know, I mean, Muse, they all sort of were in, sort of weighed in, going, yeah, wicked, you know, let's do this. And they were all sort of obviously artists that I really respected, and I was just like, oh my God, what have I done?
I mean, this probably has to go down in history as probably one of the most rock and roll PR social campaigns that has ever been. It has such a great story to it. It's a great achievement. I mean, I remember this campaign like it was yesterday, and we were so supportive of it. Myself, the band I was in at the time, all my friends, family, we loved it. We absolutely got behind it with full vigor. So to know that you're touching individual lives, but also making this massive dent in the music industry, in the charts for Christmas #1, it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm really interested to know, where were you when you found out it was #1, and how did that feel?
Wow, yeah, okay. Well, it was Sunday. It was Sunday in those days was when the charts were compiled and announced. I was at home. I remember I was in the kitchen. I think I was making a cup of tea or something like that. I don't know. I was in the kitchen, and bear in mind, my phone at this time of my life was going off every so often, you know, and it was every so often. I was like, oh, right, okay, isn't that, you know, another journalist or whatever. Anyway, it was about 2:00-ish, 1:30, 2:00, and phone went. Number I didn't know, which wasn't that unusual in those days, and so, you know, I answered the phone, and it was a journalist called Helen Pidd from The Guardian. She goes, are you sort of sitting down? I was like, no. You might want to sit down. I was like, right, okay. She goes, look, you know, between you and me, we've had a press release through, which is not allowed to go live until 7. Okay, but the charts have been counted.
Sorry, what time of day was this?
This was about 2:00.
Okay.
But literally it's just fresh come through, and it looks like you've done it by about 50,000, right? So well done. Have you got anything you want to say? And I said, you know, I was like, what?
What did you say? Yeah, I was speechless.
And I obviously was just, even though I was sort of semi-prepared for it, you can't prepare for that. And I was just like, what? I don't know what to say. And I was literally just like, oh, okay. But I didn't believe it. Something I just didn't quite go for it.
It didn't sink in straight away.
So I sort of said, well, thanks for telling me. Really appreciate it. Phone went down, and I was still sitting at my kitchen table.
So on your own? No one else around?
No, don't think so at the time, no. And then, but literally, it must have been 30 seconds odd later. Phone went again. And I was like, okay. I said, hi, it's so-and-so from, it was one of the red tops. It was the Sun or the Mirror. I can't remember which one it was now. Basically saying, right, okay, don't let anyone know I've told you this, but you've done it. You're #1. I was like, right, okay. And I sort of, and again, I still just didn't believe it. So I actually asked, I said, look, does it say by how many? So I said, how many we've done? He goes, yeah, hang on a minute, anyway. Yeah, you've done it by about 48,000, it says here. And that was when I thought, okay, right. Yeah. That's about the same.
This is pretty definitive.
Yeah. And I think that was when it sort of hit. It was like, okay, all right, I think we've done it. So
how did that feel? What did you do next?
I went and told the wife. I said, I think we're #1. I think we've done it. So this is probably where it's all going to change, you know. And then the phone went again. And so obviously this press release had gone out, and the thing with the chart press releases is one thing I learned quite quickly is that they're supposed to be embargoed till 7:00, and everyone in the industry was just ringing, going, "Yep, you're #1." Anyway, the BBC rang and said, "Do you want to come in to the chart show and come and do BBC News this evening?"
Yes, the very same night.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, and that's when I got a little bit bullish, and I said, well, I don't really want to come in if it's #2, if I'm honest with you. And they were trying to be like, well, we don't know for sure yet, but we've got a feeling you've done, you may have done it, but we don't know 100%. I thought, yeah, you do, you're lying. But I said, yeah, all right, I'll come in. If you can get a car to bring me out, come and get me. I thought I couldn't be bothered to get the train in. I said, okay.
And you're #1, you've got to push it a little bit at this stage.
Oh, well, trust me, I did. One thing I learned, if you've got a big story, a lot of the news people say, yeah, can you get into London? No, I always say, no, you bring me into London and I'll do it for you, you know. It was weirdly numbing in a way. And I remember I put the kettle on And I made a cup of tea. I remember me and Tracy sat down at this kitchen table. It was a Sunday, so the kids were playing and it was like, right, well, what do we do now then? It's
celebrated with a cup of tea on a Sunday.
And what I did do, someone else, some wag that obviously got the numbers, started tweeting the numbers in order. And I thought, fuck, he's got this right and he's going to give it away here. So I went on to a line where people going, oh, we've heard rumours it's gone to number one. And I said, no, I've heard the other way, to be honest with you. I back-hyped it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I can't say much, but I'm a little bit worried that we haven't done this. And so I started going, but hey, great effort, gargantuan effort, guys. Well done anyway, you know. And I suppose we're just going to have to listen into the radio tonight. Clever. And we became the most listened to chart show in 15 years since Blue and Oasis.
Wow.
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, it's truly incredible. So you were at Radio 1 at this point, effectively representing Rage Against the Machine. And
this was a slight bugbear because I got shoved straight into the news, which actually was cool because I was wanting to go on like proper BBC News. So to me, that was great. I was like, yeah, I'm on BBC News, motherfuckers. Yeah. Come on. Get in there.
What T-shirt were you wearing there?
Do you know, I can't remember, to be honest with you, but I would have liked to have gone into Radio 1, but actually at the time I wasn't that bothered. And bizarrely, I ended up doing it for the 3 years later anyway. I actually did go into Radio 1, but that's another story. For Christmas number one. But yeah, so I did a couple of news things, I did a couple of the radio things, and they said, any chance you could come back in the morning, do BBC Breakfast with Sean and Bill on the sofa? Yeah, I'd love to, that'd be awesome. And so I got home quite late. I didn't get home till about midnight. And I still had interviews because there was a lot of the little local stations that really wanted interviews.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And I thought, no, fuck it, I'll do it if you don't mind doing them this late. And I did some really small little stations. And one of them, I was so tired, I actually did it laying down on the bed and I'd rested my phone there. And I literally was like, I am so tired.
You weren't even holding your phone.
But I'm still going to do this interview for you, you know. And I was up again at 5 or something, 4. And this is on YouTube. If you go and look on YouTube, I looked a state the morning after. It was proper the morning after the night before. I looked wrecked. I looked awful. And I was on the sofa going, I don't know.
All right, that is going to go up on the show notes, I'm afraid, John. We have to do it.
It's out there and my hair's out here. I look like I've been dragged through a hedge. And then I had to go and do Radio 4 to try and sound posh and all that, you know. Yeah, so you know, it was a crazy sort of 24 hours when we sort of heard it went to number one. It was just mental. Right. And then the morning after, so I went and done, you know, World Service at Radio 4, Radio 5, which they let me back in again after the incident. Just TV in the morning, but I still had to be at work for 9. Here. So I had this weird situation where I had a BBC chauffeur and I had to turn down. No, it was the World Service. I had to turn down the World Service. I had no time to do it, and so I was doing 6 music in the car, talking to Sean Keaveney whilst I was in this car, but driving here.
Superb.
And I literally, and bless them, the BBC got me here 5 to 9. On the dot through London traffic. There's a little shop round a corner, literally just, again, you can probably see it from the window from here. It's ironic you're doing this here, guys. And I went in and I bought every headline, every newspaper, every national newspaper had my campaign as its headline. Seriously, amazing. Every single one. I bought every single one.
Did you? Literally every one?
Yeah. Even the Scum. I even bought that one. Normally I steal it, but you know. So if I need it, I will not buy that bloody thing. But so anyway, I got the papers. I brought them in on my office, sort of just round the corner, put them on the desk. I didn't say a word, and I just tapped away doing my work. You know, and all this, and I had my phone buzzing left, right, and centre. Lunchtime, I had to come out here again, and I had to do interviews for whatever. And then CNN brought a car out to me at 5 o'clock. Went over to CNN. A crazy week.
Crazy week, yeah.
Oh, it was. Again, I look back a few years later on, and I still just think, how the hell did I do that? I don't know how we sort of kept it together.
Well, I mean, that's a really interesting point. So. I mean, you very kindly shared a load of your strategies about how you got the song to number one.
Yeah.
But that was in 2009. 2016, things have changed a lot across social. Facebook, it's notoriously difficult to get a message out on Facebook now. So 2 questions, really. Firstly, do you think something like that, a real rock and roll guerrilla marketing campaign, can really have effect today? And how would you go about doing it?
I don't think you could do it as grassroots as what Rage was nowadays. Sadly, I don't think you can. Especially on Facebook. I don't think you can get that virality as quick and as pacey as we got that.
Yeah. Just
because Facebook's different. It's a different animal now. To get any sort of traction, I would say you need to have Facebook ads. You've got to have Facebook ads. What budget you have is another discussion, but you kind of have to pay to get any sort of traction to start with. And once you get that traction, then you can make it a bit more natural. But yeah, they are different animals without a shadow of a doubt.
Are there any platforms now, emerging platforms, be they social media or whatever, that you think now still are relatively untapped or at least undeveloped, like Facebook was at the time when you kicked this off, in the way that you could join as admin? Is there any other platforms that you would recommend people utilise now that are perhaps on the up, that might just not have dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, and you could get that same sort of traction?
Sorry to be dull, but no. I mean,
fair enough.
With Facebook at the time, I've always believed this, you've got to go where the people are. You know, famous Wild Heart song, you want to go where the people go. It's so true. And at the time, that was where everyone was. It was Facebook, and it still is. You know, and it's all very well going for a new social network, but if no one's on it, you could probably do some tricky, clever little things like I did with Facebook. But if no one's on there to sort of pick it up and run with it, then you're kind of wasting your time. You know, the one thing that I don't think has changed is that Facebook still is the king, but there are differences. I mean, I think things have changed a little bit. Like when I worked with the Justice Collective, which was the Hillsborough tribute single. Yeah. And that was the other Christmas number one I was lucky to work on. That was a bit different. We couldn't do exactly what we did with Rage at all. Actually, that started on Twitter. That was, I did a whole Twitter campaign for a good month before I even went near Facebook.
Did you? And what did that Twitter campaign look like?
I targeted people in Liverpool, Nottingham, Sheffield, all the places that were affected, and just solely got involved with conversations there and interacted and grew something natural there. So, and then we had a nice big group of people that were supporting it. So then when we made the transition to Facebook, or we added Facebook, I should say, we instantly had a good crowd of people that would join. Otherwise, if you start them at the same time and it's got 20 people for the first few weeks or so, it looks like that's never going to work, you know? Yeah. So it was kind of almost as a catalyst to kick the other one off a little bit. Yeah, sure. Because you couldn't do the little trick with the the groups that I had done previously. So, and also how would I do it now? I'm still a believer in sort of hook or crook, and I'm still a believer in one thing I was going to say earlier is making mistakes is good. I make loads of mistakes. Again, Rage happened because I discovered something on Facebook from fluke in a way.
And how are you finding Instagram? Because obviously our feeds are now being littered with ads, and this is a relatively new thing. Instagram has certainly still got the credibility Facebook has lost, and it's a very powerful tool for marketing. Are you playing around with paid ads? Are you engaging with big popular Instagram pages? How are you going about really leveraging it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Instagram is now it's really an extension of Facebook now.
Yeah, sure.
So it will have the same ethos now and the same sort of ads within the stream, etc. How do I engage? I'll be honest, I still prefer Twitter on that side of things. I still think you can get a little bit more out of Twitter than you can out of Instagram. But
why do you think that is?
I can get away with more on Twitter, really. And I don't know. I think with Instagram, there's still a lot of barriers up. Like, for example, you can't use third-party apps to post on Instagram. You can prepare stuff for it, but you can't actually post on Instagram using them.
Yeah, and it is a pain in the arse. Yeah, so you've got Crowdfire where you can prepare them and you can use that to help build your following. But there's nothing like Hootsuite or anything of similar
I'm
that
a
allows you
Hootsuite
to
ambassador, actually. So I suppose now you've mentioned it, I could throw that one in. It's a great tool, and I can recommend it to everybody.
And how does it save time for you, Hootsuite?
Oh, that's a god. That is just the gift from the gods. I mean, Hootsuite, I was one of the earlier users, adopters of it.
So just for anyone who doesn't know then, so Hootsuite is a platform that enables you to schedule posts across pretty much all your social platforms, with the exception of Instagram.
No, you can do Instagram as well. You can prepare for Instagram. So what it will do, you do the work, and then what it will do is it will send it to your phone, and but you have to physically open up the app and accept it and do that. So you can't automatically post like you can with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. But yeah, I actually use Hootsuite for part of the Rage campaign for monitoring tweets during Rage. That was actually done on Hootsuite.
Was it?
The Justice Collective, a lot of the donkey work was done on Hootsuite. That was a Christmas #1. Rolling Stones, I was very lucky to work with the Rolling Stones. I didn't meet them, unfortunately, but I got to work on one of their campaigns. That went to #1 album. That was a lot of that was done on Hootsuite.
No, sure, it's great to get your insight and the tools you've used to run and make these campaigns successful is very useful information.
Absolutely. And if you set it up, there's loads of different ways you can set Hootsuite up. And, it's taken a little while, but I've sort of set mine up so that pretty much anything I get involved with, so whether it be new bands, whether it be a brand, whatever, I can instantly find out who's talking about it. Who are the key ones I probably need to look out for? Who do I need to chat to? Who's the organ grinder?
Yep.
And you can find that out within 5-10 minutes of just doing a proper setup on Hootsuite. Whereas if you do it directly on Twitter, directly on Facebook, etc., it's a lot of donkey work.
Can you dig into that a little more? So how would someone, if you wanted to find a decision maker in an organisation that you felt would be very beneficial to connect with, how would you find the organ grinder, the decision maker in this organisation, using social networks in general, but also the added help of Hootsuite?
Well, for example, I'm in my sort of networks now, and I network with a lot of people within the industry and with labels, management companies, and so what I try and do, I mean, one simple tip which I've always done, I still do, is okay, here's a band and we want to put our demo in front of Mercury Records, for example. Okay, all right. So I'll instantly will go to Mercury Records, their Twitter account. I don't care who's following them, because that bit's not important. Who are they actually following? Because that's normally, especially with some of these big ones, they only follow maybe 100, 200 people.
Yeah.
I'll go straight in there, have a little look through, which you can do all on Hootsuite, and you can see how many they're following. So if it's someone that say, for example, Mercury Records happens to be following, and they've also got a lot of followers themselves, you think, well, who's that?
Yeah.
Well, let's have a quick look at their bio. Oh, right. So that's so-and-so at Mercury Records. Right. And then you move it along the line.
Yeah.
Right. Let's have a look at who they follow, and so on and so forth. And I swear by it, you can really find out some people that you've never heard of that are just worth connecting with. Even just tweeting at them.
Did you then make that initial communication via Twitter?
Yeah, I've done it before. I've with a couple of local bands of mine. I ended up talking to, I can't remember who it was. It was someone that literally worked in the building with Universal Records, Mercury, Polydor, and by literally sort of connecting the dots a little bit, they got their demo looked at. Whereas they could probably get demos coming through the post box sorry, I'm really old school there. Coming through the post every
through the email box, the inbox.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they got looked at. They got rejected, but at least they got a fair looking at. So I always do that. And one thing Hootsuite can do is you can see how influential they are. But it's something you can do to get a vaguely rough idea of who might be the ones to try and talk to. And I always say as well, another little trick that some people have done, which looks embarrassing, is where they sort of start tweeting at celebrities going, hey, check out my new single, it's great, at Stephen Fry. He ain't gonna fucking care. Kim Kardashian and all that. Don't go to them. Go to the ones with only a few hundred followers, because they're more likely to be happy that they've been mentioned, And
quite right.
No, seriously.
Yeah, very good advice. Very good advice.
Oh,
indeed.
yeah, no, don't. I mean, it's embarrassing sometimes when you see, especially bands, when you can see a list of all the people who've tweeted, and you just like,
they're wasting their time.
They're never.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl is not going to reply to you. He's a nice guy and all that, but he hasn't got time to go, oh, brilliant. Do you know what? I'm going to listen to your whole album right now. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sort of tweet the cleaner at Mercury Records or whatever someone that sort of makes the tea there, the intern.
Yeah.
that are really keen to sort of move up in the music industry and have managed to get their foot in the door, they're the ones to find, because they're the ones that if they like you, your name is inside the building a little bit.
Absolutely right. And the odds of getting them interested or even listening in the first place are so much more in your favour.
Absolutely.
That starting down at the bottom and trying to build those connections with people that will then take you with them on their move up the music industry.
In a way, yeah. That's very good point. Yeah. Just keeping them sweet. And even if they ignore you, it doesn't matter. The fact is, if they get mentioned on a tweet, they'll still see you. You'll go into their collective consciousness for a few seconds, and that's worth that more than anything. That's something else I always say is if you do get in touch with anybody like that and they don't reply, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Fine. Don't get disheartened.
If they've looked at it for 10 seconds.
Yep.
Job done. Yeah.
No, I think that's really important. And what's your view on employing people to look after your social media for you? There's a lot of social gurus out there who profess to be able to get you out there and spread the word and really get some traction. What's your thoughts on that?
Sorry, but most sort of social media gurus are wankers. I know many of them, I have to be honest with you as well. And a lot of them admit they are too, actually, I have to say. I suppose I am one in a way. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in doing it yourself. It's like a conversation. You won't, someone says, what's your new record out then? And you go, I'll just get my digital guy to reply for me on that, and they'll give you the set reply, which looks vanilla and very not you. No, I think we've gone through that stage now, and you can tell if an agency or someone is doing your tweets for you, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's like, great example, Facebook. If ever you see hashtags on Facebook from a brand or a band, they've got an agency to do it, because for some reason agencies insist on putting hashtags on the end of Facebook posts, and you just think, why are you doing that? You don't need that. So, and also, look, I've come from experience where I worked in an agency for a bit, and it was very valuable, and I learned a lot, where I was tweeting and I was Facebooking on behalf of some big brands. I was working with Hyundai, I was working with IKEA, British Airways, and we were doing the conversation on behalf of the brand. Mm-hmm. And even back then, which was like 2010, 2011, I was still thinking they should be doing it. Why are they doing this? Why, with a company as big as that, they haven't got the nous to just hire someone else or a few people to do the talking. Mm. They know about it. They're employed. They know what the grains of the company is. I don't. All I'm doing is saying, hey, here's a post that you can engage with, and engage with our brand. Do you like the sun? Click like if you like the sunshine. Fuck off, just go away.
No, I think that's really interesting, because I heard it put really well very recently that conversations in marketing in general have always been about push your message out there, tell people how good you are, tell them why they should engage with you, buy your product, listen to your music, whatever it might be. But social media now, it's much more about pulling people towards you. You don't want to drag them in kicking and screaming. You want to be doing things or saying things that actually make people interested, make people want to engage. And there's much more of a conversation, as you said. It's much more of a two-way communication. And we are now trying to pull our audiences towards us rather than push messages out. Would you agree with that mentality on social, and how do you go about using that now?
I think, to a point, I think you've got to do both. I think you still have to push. And it's not a dirty word to sort of say that to push your stuff on people. Mm-hmm. I don't see any problem with that at all. There was I don't know, for a while in social, there was a whole thing where, and again, it's always faux experts, snob jockeys that just bloody come out with all this crap. One example, there was a brand that I remember speaking to them. I said, well, what's the whole point of your Twitter and Facebook? What is it you want to do? Well, we want to engage with our fans. Yeah, and great. So you want to talk to your fan? Great. Are you a business? You are, right. Do you have things to sell? Well, yes. So why don't you want to sell stuff as well then? Oh no, we mustn't. It's not the done thing to sell on social media, so we don't want to do that. Okay, right. So you just want to talk to people and not actually do what your brand is trying to do in the first place. So
no, that's really interesting. So how do you get around that? Because it's often been said that you should treat social media like a pub, like you wouldn't walk into a pub and start selling things to your mates. Of course, if you're a brand and you have something to sell, then it's slightly different. But how do you get over that? How do you actually get to convert people on social media?
You've got to be honest. Okay, and again, the pub's a good example because you wouldn't go into a pub and you wouldn't go in and say, hey, check out my band and here's the record and it's $8.99 and here's the link and come and buy it now. Where the fuck are you? But likewise, if you did the opposite and you went up and you went and engaged, you went up to the bar and go, hey, do you breathe oxygen? You do? Oh, right, cool. Can you just say to your mates that you like that I've asked you, do you like oxygen? And you like that I've said that? Can you just tell them now? And they're like, what? Well, it's like sharing. Can you share the fact that I've talked to you? It's the same thing. You look like a twat. And so there's got to be a middle ground there.
How do you strike that? I mean, it's the $1 million question, I know, but what is your personal advice on how you strike that balance?
My big thing I've always said is if you haven't got anything to actually say when you go into a pub, shut up. Don't say anything until you've actually got something to say and something maybe of interest. And don't assume people are going to listen to you either. The pub's a great it's a really good analogy actually, because it really is so true. There isn't really, I don't think there's a magic formula, but I do believe that you've just got to be yourself and have say what you say as you and not what you think you should be doing on social media, because that's another one.
Agreed, totally, yeah.
You see all the time where they're just baiting engagement and you're not actually getting anything.
No. Authenticity is so important on social because people do see straight through it.
If you shout in life, then shout on social media, it's fine. Honestly, it's fine. Just do that because that's who you are.
Yeah.
If you're a company that sell tractors, fucking talk about tractors. I don't want you to ask me what I'm doing for the weekend.
Yeah.
Which is, you do get these brands and other things that sort of say, hey, what are you all doing for the weekend? It's like, no, you're just an intern writing that down on behalf of this brand. I don't care who you are. What's your latest deals?
Yeah.
Sell stuff. And I of all the stuff I follow on Twitter, Facebook, etc., it's the brands. If I do follow brands, it's the ones that are just honest and say, here's the latest deal on our this, or this is a new product we've got coming out. If they try and start talking to me as if I'm their mate, they get deleted.
Would you agree that there's a lot to be said for providing value on social? So first of all, you have to know your audience if you're going to be able to provide value, but then whatever your audience looks like, if you know them and you can offer some sort of free, valuable, consistent content, be it whatever it might look like, you've got them engaged, they trust you, they know that you're a source that will provide value. And then if you were to push out a deal or a product or a song or whatever that acquisition looks like, you're more likely to convert them. In your experience, is that something that you would adopt, and would you agree with it?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way of doing it. I think, a lot of artists that I know that have done fairly well recently, they're the ones that sort of sent a free demo out and just, guys, what do you think? Be honest with me. They're showing trust in the followers and just saying, look, be honest, is it crap? If it's crap, tell me, I'd rather know. Because you're my followers and you're quite intelligent, you will actually come out and say, yeah, rather than, I love it, I can't wait. So again, that sort of ties in with the honesty and the value thing. Providing value is quite key, but again, it's like with normal conversations,
So for you, it really is about conversation. If value is the right thing to be adding to that conversation at the time, if engagement is the right thing, if just some form of statement or authenticity is part of the conversation, for you, that's what it's all about.
Well, it's not what it's all about, but it's a big thing. I mean, but again, I've dealt with some brands that literally only sell, but they admit it. They actually will say, no, we're only using this channel because we just want to sell stuff. Great example with Newcastle Brown Ale is a brilliant Facebook page. They're just honest. They just say, look, we're just here to sell you stuff.
Right.
They actually say that.
I like it.
And literally, and they get a lot of response going, fair play. Thank God for that. Someone's just being honest on social media.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a specific thing they've done because they get a lot of people on the page talking to them and what have you. And they're like, all the posts we do is just stuff that we want to sell to you.
And I'd imagine then that they know their audience well enough, because I remember some of their adverts back in the day that were very like, it obviously wasn't Ron Seal, but does what it says on the tin type tone. They know their audience, they know their demographic, and that's what their demographic will respond to. So it is really what I'm extracting from yourself is that essentially there is no big rule. There's no golden nugget. It is
not really.
Very specific, dependent on what you do and what you're trying to say and achieve from social.
There's tools you can look on Twitter. There's a thing called Twitter Audit. It's a website, free website, really, really good. Yeah. You can go, if you ever suspect anything, go and have a look.
Twitter Audits. There's one called Status People, and I know for a fact now that I know that Universal. So I've got a few friends at Universal. They will look any artist they might be interested in. They will look, double check.
If they've got fakes, well, they've been dishonest. Why on earth would we sign them?
Totally.
Why would we sign them?
Because it actually has the complete opposite effect of what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It's just the most counterproductive thing you can do in social. Yeah. And it's astonishing. I don't know why people do it. Yeah. And it looks sad. It actually, I just think they're sad.
So just there's no need to go about faking fans, followers, likes or anything.
Don't ever do it.
Well, it is absolutely fascinating. I could literally chat to you for hours. I really could. Your stories are absolutely fascinating, and your knowledge on how to get things noticed on social is absolutely incredible. But for now, Jon, it's time for the guru round.
Oh, right.
The guru round. So, Jon, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received? Who gave it to you, and how has it affected your career?
Best piece of advice I think I've ever had was back in the day, before I was doing all this social thing. I was a DJ. For a bit. I DJ'd, and I did it for money, for beer money. I was taught I was given some gigs really by a guy called Howard Carter. But the guy was a genius. He was such a good DJ. He was so good at putting a crowd on a dance floor and keeping them there. And when you see other DJs in action, when you see sort of very patchy dance floors or things, and they think, you just think, why the hell are you playing that next and things? And he just taught me so many things, not just about the art of DJing and to keep a crowd together, which I actually, does actually work away from DJing and works within social about putting crowds together. That was one thing I learned. And he basically sort of just was, saying to me, just blaze your own trail, If you think it works, just do it. Don't worry about whether you think it should work. If you have a gut feeling, go for it. And you'll find that sometimes it's the mistakes or the ones you're not sure about that actually just trigger off something else, which you can put it into the bank and use that experience at a later time. And I suppose with things in life in general, I hadn't really sort of thought of that. So that was definitely a massive piece of advice that has stuck with me since then.
And what about on social specifically then? What's the best piece of advice you've received, the best piece of advice you could impart about social?
Do it how you think it should be done. The best bit of advice, don't listen to a fucking expert, because most of them are not experts. They think they are. And it's all very vanilla, jabber, you must engage, shut up, just do what you think you should be doing and then adjust accordingly.
No, that was great advice from you. So can you make one prediction about the future of the music industry?
I kind of already have in a way, which is actually ringing true at this very moment in time, where streaming has come on board and become a big thing, and it's been added to the charts now. So streaming counts for the charts. And one thing I was slightly worried about with streaming is that when you buy a single or a track you like, I might go and buy it. I might have to go to work. And then I might come back at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I'll play it a couple of times, go to bed. But that song is counted as one sale on the charts. Whereas now with streaming, if I'm a massive Justin Bieber fan and I'm not even going to go and buy it, why should I buy it? I can just go on Spotify and just listen to it when I want. In theory, you could add loads of sales onto the charts, onto that chart placing, without even buying anything. And what we're seeing now is we've got numbers 1 to, as we record this, numbers 1, 2 and 3 in the singles chart is Justin Bieber, where the streams are so huge. It gets about 1 million streams on one track alone during a week that it's going to become very insipid. and so for the future, I hope that Because basically it's 100 streams of a track equals one sale on the charts, and I think that's too generous. And I've always believed in the charts. I'm still a fan of the charts, and I just think that we are just going to see it become very insipid, and where the next big thing is going to turn up. And they won't just get one song in the charts, they'll get 8 or 9.
So if you could have written any song in history and claim it as your own, what would it be and why?
Happy birthday to you.
You are not the first person to say that, actually. We can see who the commercially driven minds are.
No, I mean, if I was in for a few quid, it'd be that one. If I could have written any song of mine, oh man, I could say "Killing in the Name" by Rage Against the Machine, because then
you've already got a number one.
It's kind of it's kind of my number one anyway. So yeah, I'd have that one.
Okay, so here we have a scenario question. You're an artist looking to break into the music industry. You've written 8 killer tracks, but have no recordings, no videos. You have £1,000 in your back pocket and 12 months to try and make something happen. What would you, Jon Morter, do?
I would go and busk outside Universal Records. I would do it here in London because I'm not going to fork out to fly to the USA because that'd take up my budget. I'd go and buy 500 quid's worth of fireworks, bangers and shit like that. And then what I'd do is I'd play these killer tracks outside to the staff as they walk in, all right? So that would be the boss, the cleaners, whatever. And I'd just keep repeating these 8 tracks over and over again. And then as it gets a bit darker, and people say, what's going on here? I'd light these fucking fireworks, the whole lot, right, in one go. Also, what I do is I'd go on Twitter, because am I allowed to go on Twitter?
You're allowed to do whatever you want.
Well, I go on Twitter and Facebook and just say, man, there's some serious shit happening outside Universal Records right now. Also tweet in some bigwig names, perhaps. I know what I said earlier, but I would just put the bigwigs in and just say, marketing director of Universal, some serious shit about to hit the fan outside if you're not careful. Police might turn up, great, no problem. Very Apple rooftop, yeah. Set these bastards off, the whole lot at one go. Enemy and all that will suddenly go nut job outside Universal Records as set off all these fireworks. I'd also, but buskers, if you're out there, put your name and your Twitter names, etc., behind you or near you.
Such good advice for buskers.
My name and that is going to be there, not on fire, because that bit's behind's all going to be on fire, and it's going to stop the traffic, and there's going to be complaints and shit like that. So once all these fireworks have gone off, and this crowd has obviously appeared out somewhere, I'll play a bit more of these killer tracks. And just say, follow me on Twitter. I'm fucking good. I'm really good, So there will definitely be some Universal Records people out there watching out the windows and stuff, because obviously there's always 500 quid worth of fireworks going off, right? And so I play a little bit, make sure I get seen. I'd then scarper before the police came along, have a look online, because there will be some blog posts about it and what have you. And then, I don't know, a few days later, I go and do it outside Sony, another 500 quid worth of records of fireworks to go off. I do the same thing.
So you're blowing your £1,000 budget on 2 sets of incredibly vigorous fireworks
really
displays.
Fuck off loud fireworks, nasty ones, Roman candles, the lot, right? So this is going to be like this most immense just shower of like, what the fuck is going on? And then it'll come down to Jon Morter, the artist, was performing whilst this chaos, this traffic stopped outside Kensington. Yeah, and then what I would do is I'd go, if I was arrested, great, because that's a bit punk, and then I can say I've been arrested for my art and all that rubbish. Put me in a cell, even better, But once all that sort of blows over, then all that material that I've got from all the blog posts, all the website, the BBC News, whoever's reported on it, I'm then going to just go to town on Twitter and Facebook, because I will be known as the nut job that set all this on fire. Also, as well, of course, I'll try and perform whilst this is all going off. So hopefully by that time there'll be a few YouTubers on their iPhones filming me, and we'll just sort of repost a lot of that stuff and see what happens. Because if I can't get my music seen that way, then you tell me what's going to work,
Well, Jon, I think you're the personification of guerrilla marketing. You actually are. Well, a good answer. We've certainly never had one quite like that before.
Yeah, I mean, not just a box of fireworks, which is quite hefty duty anyway, but a full-on, just a fucking fuck ton of fireworks. bangers, and keep them going as well. So I won't just, they'll go, just literally, and so people might think it's a bomb, so they might even evacuate and stuff,
You're the only man in London.
Yeah. And I'll still be there strumming away at these killer songs, and behind me you've got my name up there. Buskers, please do that.
You know what, that is such good advice for buskers, though. The amount of viral attraction they get when they are good, and they're missing a very simple trick, not putting their Twitter handles or name.
Put your Twitter account name on there, anything, because most people that might like you, they haven't got time to stop and listen. That's just the way it works.
That's right, yeah.
Stick your name on there, put some cards out, anything. Just make it obvious who you are. You will pick up from that. You will. Yeah. You definitely will.
Superb. There's just one last question.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Who would you nominate to come on this podcast and why? And can you sum that up in one word?
I think a really good one to talk to would be a chap, the lead singer and the driving force behind Cunt and the Gang. Because that guy has not only had 2 chart hits, official hits, which many bands would give their right arm to do. He's done that twice with the most offensively titled tracks ever in the charts. He could give out some very, very good advice. Genuinely, he could actually.
What sort of advice would he give that you think would be really good?
Well, I mean, he's become a bit of a cult. I think he would be a really, really, you get some very interesting stories because his material is, let's say, controversial. That's been polite. He has some very controversial material. And some of the stories I've heard from him of like gigs where, it's sort of like chased out of town and stuff like that is eye-watering, actually. But at the end of the day, even within the industry, he has done some things, some good guerrilla stuff here and there, which would really, really benefit. Seriously, he would be a really good one to talk to, and he's a very funny guy as well. Look, this guy's been on the stage at Download. He's Download Festival that gets him in virtually every year now because he's so popular there.
Well, we look forward to inviting him in.
Yeah,
we certainly do. John, it actually has been an incredible pleasure. The man who got Rage Against the Machine to Christmas #1. This is a massive
and I'm in
thing.
the building where I happened to be working as it happened, and and it's it's kind of a weird feeling to come back.
We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing all your amazing stories. We hope to see you very soon.
I'm sure you will.
Cheers.